Hello, welcome to the Augmentation of Man. I'm Renee Miller,
I'm Kent.
and today we're going to bring you some messages that are more recent regarding the crossover, which is coming soon. And if you haven't heard our video regarding the crossover, what we're going to do is put a link to the original video below, but we'll go over it a little bit again this time with the updates.
So the crossover is extremely important. And with that, I would like to say it will begin this October. Now, I don't know if it's going to be beginning on October the 5th, 1st, or the 30th, but it will begin this October.
And this, we were originally told, would last between 8 months and 1 year.
It'll last a year.
And more recently, we've been told this will last a year.
Again, we are going to start with the recent spiritual and angelic messages. These messages have been received in the last 6 months.
And I want to interject here for people who are not familiar with us, is that Kent learned back in about 2007 that he had this ability to hear spiritual communication while he's in a deep trance or a meditative state. And so he hears a multitude of different entities. It can be angels, the holy ones. It can be the ancients who are our primary guides. These are ancient mentors of the Creator, God the Creator. It can be extraterrestrials. It could be, there's a plethora of different entities. There's many, many more entities than we as humanity have been exposed to in general. So he hears the communication and then I document it. He repeats what he says. It's recorded digitally and I write it down. And so that is what we are using to deliver to people these messages, but also we have been asked to put these together in 2 books, which we will have at the end of this video. They're under the Augmentation of Man. The authors, we are not listed as the authors. We publish them, but they're not our words. But we have inserted
our interpretation is our words.
Right. And so the authors would be the ancients and professors of higher realms of understanding. So the first one is A Study in Renaissance, and you want to get the second edition because it has more clarification, more of our interpretation. And then the second book is The Acquiescence of Humanity. And again, those will be listed at the end of this video.
Going back to the messages that have been delivered, a new level of urgency has occurred. That major Earth changes are upon us, mainly due to the crossover event, which will take place, as we discussed in this video. In June, we discussed the crossover.
Just to be brief here, the crossover is an event where the Earth in its grand rotation around the galaxy gets to a particular point. It crosses the galactic meridian, and this triggers a rebalancing effect. And this is not just Earth, but it's all planetary bodies. And the amount that the changes that are imposed to bring that planet back into balance is relative to how much it's out of balance. That is going to result in earthquakes. It will result in increased volcanic activity. It will result in displacement of ocean waters to other areas on the land. And that will trigger the reversal of the electromagnetic field poles.
You got to remember, the lands we now live on and we visit, were basically underwater millions of years ago. But I was told that the waters will return to their ancient lands.
Where they occupied in antiquity.
Right.
So, for example, the Salt Lake City area used to be all ocean.
Yeah,
So
we used to live 7,500 feet. Shark's tooths were found in that area. So it shows you the ocean once penetrated that whole area.
yeah, and it'll also cause massive earth movement. We're talking about enormous earthquakes that will be felt worldwide. You will have lands that will fall, lands that will rise.
Well, she'll put the link below in that, but we have discussed or noticed the correlation between the spiritual messages that we receive and the astrological predictions. We're going to include some of these correlations with a link below to.
That would be Pam Gregory's most recent astrological predictions for the supermoon of August 31st of this month, this year, 2023. So you'll find that link below, and you can see the correlations, because we're going to give you some of the original language as it comes through. When Kent hears it and repeats it, it's verbatim. What we'll give you our interpretation, and then you can compare it to the astrology report and see how it lines up. And we often use this because our guides don't give us dates, or rarely give us dates.
Just signs.
Yeah, signs. But so when we look to find, well, when is the time frame we can see this happening, then you can check with the astrology, even though we are not adept in astrology at all.
So we will discuss where this is taking humanity and what we need to do.
Right. So this it is a call to action, but it is not to instill fear, even though that's kind of hard to avoid. The object here is to get people to understand what is happening, why it's happening, and how to be prepared, so you can just kind of ride it out and put yourself in the best case scenario.
Yeah, if you understand what she just got through saying, you won't be in fear. Fear drops away. So the urgency of new messages. In 2022, I received this message: an apocalypse is about to happen, a prophetic cataclysm in which the forces of good triumph over the forces of evil.
Now that's one definition of apocalypse. So it's hard to tell, exactly where they're leading with this, because we are in a period of time where it is that proverbial good versus evil that are coming to clash, and God is going to win.
It's a sudden and violent physical reaction producing changes in Earth's surface, the land masses, the oceans, widespread destruction or disaster.
Now these
occur.
I'm sorry. These are also definitions of an apocalypse.
Yeah.
So, or a cataclysm. So these are all the interpretations that you can insert into that one sentence: an apocalypse is about to happen. We think, though, that in this instance it's probably referring to all of these earth changes that are going to be happening very soon.
Yeah. So in March of 2023 of this year, Poseidon will overtake this world.
Now, Poseidon is a god of the sea, a mythological god of the sea, and he is in charge of earthquakes. He's also in charge of horses, but earthquakes is the key here.
Yeah. So those of just cause will stay. Again, I repeat, will stay to begin anew.
So when they're referring to just cause, is what is the purpose here? If you are here to help society, to help people, to be the wayfarer for this new cycle that is developing, to bring forth humanity to a new way of doing things under the direction of these higher beings, then you would have the just cause to remain here during this time to start things anew.
So in June of this year, 2023, be ready for the crossover. October is the crossover month. Set the beginning, a year that will last.
So these were actually, there was the first sentence, be ready for the crossover, came in June of this year. I inserted October as the crossover month because I happened to find that going back over our notes. So that was actually several years ago that we received that. And then just yesterday, I believe, we got the third sentence, which is set the beginning, a year that will last.
Earth movement, a preliminary to the turning of the field. The loosening of this sphere, this earth, or land movement. Continents will shift, some to be reborn, some to die. Electromagnetic sphere, magnetosphere is changing, corresponding to the magnetic field change. The poles are almost set with a new beginning or beginnings. A change in troubles will come. Several large earthquakes.
Yes, and so just to chew this one a little bit and start to digest it, a preliminary to the turning of the field, which is all these earth movements will begin prior to the electromagnetic field reversing. A loosening of this sphere or land movement. So they're saying that this earth movement is loosening things up. Continents will shift, some to be reborn. So you will see possibly Atlantis rise, but we're told that as the water is displaced over more of the land, that there will be other areas that have been under the oceans, other ancient civilizations will rise for our discovery.
Conceptual change to this planetary direction. Be aware of the epic path of this planet, beyond your imagination and understanding.
So there's going to be fluctuations with all of this happening, and they're asking us to just be aware of how epic this event is. It is beyond our understanding. It's beyond our ability to even comprehend.
So these earthquake activities will be felt worldwide. The wash, which will be the oceans, will begin. Wash of the lands is called. Displacement. The ocean waters come back into the ancient lands in which they started.
Now, keep in mind that this is going to result in a lot of death, unfortunately, but there are many people who are not going to move into this new cycle simply because they're not ready. It is a higher learning cycle. It involves conceptual learning that they're not ready for. And so they basically do have to exit this earth, but on the soul level, they are already aware of this and they know. So when you're begging people to move, and they don't, at the soul level, they're making that decision not to move that may put them in peril.
Right. Things will be as they are. It's not up to us to change the whole world. So
I'm guilty. He's looking at me.
The spin is in accordance with the Earth's orbit for change. A non-magnitudinal event is now. This will change event course that is coming, a preliminary exposure. So the change in the Earth's orbit will begin to change more elliptical around the sun rather than oval.
Round, more than.
Yeah.
So now it's more round and it's going to become more oval in its orbital path, and the inclination is supposed to change somewhat. So they're saying that the spin, which it has begun to slow down, this is in preparation for these coming changes. And this is not an event of great magnitude at this moment, but this will change the course, the event course that is coming. So the spin is slowing down. That is going to change how everything else lines up in the future. And it will be an event of great magnitude.
So I see an exorbitant amount of goods drying up. Goods, food will be drying up. And along with this, I saw fire, lots of fire. So
all over the earth.
Fire and water will take place.
So the last of these messages, and Kent is reading it verbatim how he received it, and then I'm doing the interpretation of it.
This is a difficult word. Alimentation of what's to come. Is that truly a word? Catastrophic fragrance. The winds are turning. Presumptuous disagreements between all.
So when he gets these words, I have got to go through a Latin and Greek root word dictionary. I'm going off of how it's pronounced, but it's not necessarily spelled the way that we would think it would be spelled, although it when I discover the root word and how it is spelled, then it makes total sense. So this alimentation, olim, O-L-L-Y-M, is a word, a root word for destroy.
So destruction of what's to come.
Right. So there's going to be a lot of destruction in this process. There's no way that we as humans can stop it. We just have to try and use our intuition to get us to a location where we would be safe. And we can't tell you exactly where that will be, but we're going to share with you a future map of the world that we found online that corresponds to the way that Kent saw it.
So with that first, let's go to Pam Gregory's astrology report for August 31st, the supermoon. And with that, she says, time of earthquakes, destruction of the environment, devastation, ecological disaster.
But the positive side of that is that there's going to be rebuilding and regeneration. It's going to be a positive change, and Mother Earth will be transformed.
Much like when we were on vacation a few weeks ago, we went to a place in Wolf Creek Pass in Colorado. And a couple of years ago when we went through there, actually several years in a row, the trees were dying and they were almost all dead. The whole forest in the pass was pretty much dying. And
then the first time we went through, we said, oh, you know, looks like 50% of this forest is dead. This is on Highway 160, going over Wolf Creek Pass, which is it's a ski area. And then the next time we went through, it was 75%. And the next time it was like 90%.
Yeah, so it got really bad. This time when we went through, the regeneration is happening. the young trees are coming up, getting in the sun, and they're green.
And the aspens are
And the
coming up.
aspen, and so it's the whole forest is regenerating itself.
And it will actually end up being much healthier to our, originally we thought, oh, this is going to be such a disaster, especially if this catches fire. But now we can see that those old dead trees are falling, and that will become this nice mulch for the forest floor, and it will provide the nutrients in the sun, and there will be less competition for the new growth that's coming up.
Yeah, so with that, let's turn over to the map, future map of the world.
So this is a composite of different sources that have contributed to this map of the future map of the U.S.
Yeah, and it pretty much correlates with what I had been given the view of in 2007, where the Mississippi River is about 4 times larger than it normally is. East Coast is
Right here.
Pretty much gone, and the West Coast, as you can see, Arizona is just a small piece of that where the Hopi thrive up in the corner there, and they'll thrive. The oceans will be at their front, but they will survive this.
And then you saw some islands along, this area, some islands in California. The high areas that remain elevated. So yes, this
and then
could
I saw
go.
the Texas coastline up around Houston, water coming in.
Yeah, so down here, this is fairly close, but the other thing that is not on this map is that Kent saw that this Rio Grande River here between Texas and Mexico is going to split, and that'll sever Mexico from the U.S.
Okay.
So
with
I think that is fairly close to what we had originally been given.
Yeah, also the Navy map is close. Also, the Navy had put out some 20 years ago.
If you plug in the future map of the U.S. and the Navy future map of the U.S., you will get a lot of different maps that are out there. This is as close as we can get to what Kent had seen.
So with this, we hope you adhere to the tune of this message.
We do want to urge you, we've been doing this all along, but please, to be prepared, don't go into fear mode. Understand why this has to happen. The earth has to rebalance from time to time, and humanity, because we are vibrationally tied to the earth, genetically tied to the earth, cannot balance without the earth balancing first. And then get your stocks of food, even if you have to just buy 1 or 2 cans extra at the grocery store when you go, and seeds to plant vegetable garden. Peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Thank you for joining us.